but I'm not very familiar with where do you fit in the world of Deadpool?
Well, Ajax and Angel Dust operate the workshop that Wade Wilson goes into and gains his superpowers from. It's the same program that Wolverine went through, Weapon X. We both went through that program ourselves. We weren't born with superpowers. We went through the program and gained them. You know, we were ex-soldiers that were experimented on ourselves and gained our superpowers, and then went on to run the workshop and experimented on Wade Wilson and turned him into Deadpool. And that's why he should be thanking us instead of trying to fight us. You know,
we create. We're artists.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would say that. You were so great in Haywire. You're so great with the action. How big of a part of this will we be seeing? How much ass will you be kicking?
Well, actually, we both do a fair amount of ass kicking, I think. This is unlike anything I've done. I don't want to give anything away, but I've never done something like this. So it's completely different than Haywire. And at first, it took a little getting used to, but I think I'm going to be happy with the final product.
How do you guys prepare for something like this? I mean, how much physical training, how much actual acting training did you have to do on both sides?
Well,
I mean, physically, there was an incredible amount of work for me because I'm not wearing a mask, so I was not able to. I did everything, and it's something I take pride in as well. But the film, the team that we had for the stunts and the action scenes were phenomenal. Phil Silvera is a genius. Big Phil, and he. This is for you, Phil. And is it? Oh, thank you. And he and Phil was the mastermind behind Daredevil, which is a phenomenal TV series, and Iron Man, and he did some incredible stuff in Captain America. And then you got Rob Alonzo, who's Tom Cruise's right hand man. So we were in incredible hands. And I would spend a lot of time working with them. I was working predominantly with two-handed with two axes. I don't want to give too much away, but I had to work really hard to get my left hand as good as my right hand, and it's difficult stuff, and we did a lot of work with wires and gimbals, and there's a lot of CG stuff, and as Gina kind of alluded to, both of us were kind of the combat that we've done previously is rooted in reality, so to then be superhuman,
your body language is different, your punches out, everything is so much different, and when you're doing those realistic fight scenes, you don't want to make them, you want to put your flavor into it and flow a little bit. Well, this is going the opposite direction and really looking strong, superhuman strength and adrenaline, and it's actually really difficult. Well, I found it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, in some ways, but you imagine Gina Carano when she's a human, and then imagine her as a superhuman. Imagine how strong and how much ass she kicks. She was phenomenal. I remember coming out. It was a double-edged sword with Gina, because it was I said to the guy that was training me, Bob Breen, who's a phenomenal, who's my guru in London, who trained me in his style of combat, 4D combat, which is Kali, Filipino knife stick fighting, JKD, and kickboxing. And I said to him, I can't wait to train with Gina Carano. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to learn so much from her. And I never got to fight with her. We always fought separately, which was really sad for me. But also something that was really wonderful is I never had to fight against her. Because that would have been terrifying. I was just so glad she was on my team.
And Tim actually said, Tim Miller, the director, said that if we would have had a bigger budget, we would have had that together, which would have been great because we had the chemistry. But
yeah.
Do you feel that there was working with a smaller budget maybe helps adds a little more creativity to it?
Every time people say smaller budget, I just think $60 million.
Right?
Absolutely not. We are, the first movie that I made, we made it for £150,000. So, it was a huge budget. We had all of the luxuries we needed. Of course, you always want more, and the nature of human nature is greed is intrinsic in that. But we had everything we needed. And I think it was more.
I wanted more.
You wanted triple the wage. You wanted that big, the Ben Stiller trailer. No, but I mean, it was kind of, we had this siege mentality because we were making Deadpool. We were making something that needed to be made and that was very important, and it's a wonderful feeling when you're you know, you're making a project that feels like it's important to modern pop culture. And when you come somewhere like this to Comic-Con and you see how much it means to people, they're queuing up overnight. We've seen people just as Deadpool, old people, young people, kids. We've seen people with Zimmer frames walking along just as Deadpool. So it means so much to them, and you know, I can assure them it means that much to us as well.
We feel like we're a part of something.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we were filming, we just kind of started looking around like, oh my gosh, this is special. And hats off to Ryan Reynolds for getting this done in Tim Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is really, it's precious. This is a precious movie. It's going to be awesome.
But that was only the beginning, the fact that they made it. It was the way that Ryan, you know, owned every scene. I mean, he was incredible, man. His comedic side is phenomenal, but what really impressed me and what I enjoyed so much was in the scenes in the workshop. You know, when he was off camera, you know, and he was doing the vulnerable scenes, he would give me so much, you know, and he would give everything emotionally to me so that I could, you know, give my best. And, you know, he's a gentleman and a scholar of the craft, and I learned a lot working with him. And
He goes from 0 to 100.
yeah.
You know, he goes from tears in his eyes to saying the worst thing that you can imagine coming out of his mouth, and you're like, oh, I was feeling bad for a second. Now I feel so bad. Like he's phenomenal.
Now, how close are you guys to the comics, and how much did you know going in, and how much do you know now? Did you like go into it studying?
Ed actually educated. As soon as I landed in Vancouver, I get this phone call, and he takes me to, you know, I'm like, okay, let's see who this guy is, and he like takes me to sushi, and then we go immediately to the comic book store.
To Golden Age Comics,
Yeah.
Vancouver, #1 comic book shop, Hank Patterson.
Hashtag. Yeah, so he took me to my first comic book store, and I bought, you know, a bunch of Deadpool
It was the Daniel Way collection.
Yes. And pretty much he's been brainwashing me ever since.
And it was the same with young Brianna. You know, we did that with her as well. You know, I gave her the 3 Daniel Way collection graphic novels. You know, we had all of them. My hotel room was ridiculous. You couldn't see the table, you couldn't see the floor for Superior, Iron Man, all of the Image stuff. You know, all of the new the Civil War stuff. It was incredible to be able to immerse myself back in that world, because I was a comic book geek when I was younger. I used to go to the conventions back in London when I was like, you know, a 10-year-old. So I used to collect Spawn, you know, and X-Men. And so to be in this world now is a dream come true, you know. And
it rivals Ryan's, you know, and it's actually really beautiful, and it's completely contagious. So we had that, you know, flow going throughout the entire cast and set, and, you know, between him, Ryan Reynolds, and Tim Miller. I mean, it was just like the energy was circulating. Like it was really awesome to be a part of.
it was like, you know, the fans got this movie made. You know, when it got leaked, the fans were the ones who was power to the people. You know, it's actually soul affirming that something like that can happen. But that was just the green light. After that, fans made this movie because we are fans, you know, and that's a wonderful thing. It was made for the fans by the fans, you know. And as you say, if
fans for life.
exactly, if people weren't fans from the beginning,
People are insane.
yeah, it's crazy, man. We're gonna be, yeah, we hold a special place in our heart for Deadpool forever, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He's part of the family.
It's exciting to see the, like you said, like kids in Deadpool, even though it's like the foulest child and the most violent, and you know, and they're sticking to that with this. Was that exciting when that was? Did you always know that this was going to be R, or was there ever kind of questions for you?
Well, I didn't really know what I was walking into, but once I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, finally somebody's like making fun of everything that's in these like movies, and you're like. You know, because we're all thinking it when we see these movies, and Deadpool makes fun of it all.
He says exactly. He says what we're thinking, you know, and he you know, we've been in such a wonderful position to have so many superhero movies, you know, for fans such as myself, but also just fans of the entertainment world and action movies, and they've been phenomenal, you know, and we've come so far and we've had so many. We are now at a position where, you know, possibly, you know, we can go a little bit darker, you know, and possibly we can get a little bit darker in some ways and lighter in some ways, and, you know, more self-referential and you know, with the modern pop culture references and stuff, and sort of place them closer to reality. And, you know, I think the people are ready for it. I think modern pop culture is ready for it, and I think we made what the people want.